Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Representative Baum. Camper. Cochran. Faison. Garrett. Hawk. Hazelwood. Hicks of Washington. Love. Moon. Shaw. Whitson. Williams. Chairman Hicks.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways, and Means Subcommittee to order for April the 23rd, 2024. Members, do we have any announcements or personal orders before we begin? Hearing none, seeing none. We do have two bills on our calendar for this morning. First item up is going to be, item number one is going to be House Bill 2310 by Representative Ritchie. You have a motion and a second. And Representative Ritchie, it looks like we have an amendment. The drafting code is 018770, which rewrites the bill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and get the amendment on, if that's okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on amendment. Drafting code 018770 on the House Bill 2310. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill, we are back on House Bill 2310 as amended. And if you'd like to be recorded as a no on the amendment, please be sure the clerk to my left here sees you. And with that, Representative Ritchie, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. House Bill 2310 as amended provides for civil action against a person who recruits, harbors, or transports an unemancipated minor within the state for the purpose of receiving a prohibited medical procedure. With that, I'll stand by for any questions.
All right, members, you've heard the description. Again, we're on House Bill 2310. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, could you explain for me your definition of recruit? Is it somewhere already identified in the Tennessee Code annotated?
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. So my intentions with the word recruit is anybody who knowingly or willfully, who's actively, knowingly trying to persuade somebody into doing something. Based off of other case laws, I will set this over from legal. It says recruit means an actual or attempted solicitation, enrollment, encouragement, or effort to influence in any other way, either directly or indirectly through a third party. So that was based off of case law. It's not in Tennessee Code annotated as far as for the definition of recruit, but based off of case law and then what the intention, that's what that is.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if an individual were to come to a trusted person and the person, they're asking for their help, and this person decides to in fact help them, they didn't initiate the conversation with the child, the person came to them, would they fall under this if they were to try to help them?
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure if that's going to end up falling under what would end up being recruit or not. Again, this particular piece of legislation says anybody who is recruiting, harboring, or transporting a minor without parent or guardian's consent is what the core of it is. So I'm not sure exactly in that definition how that would work out in the court of law.
Leader Camper.
Okay. So if I'm, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I am a grandparent and I'm trying to help my grandchild and I do take them, then I would fall under this legislation for potential, you said civil action?
Representative Ritchie.
That's correct. If you did not have consent from the parent or guardian, then correct, you would fall under this right here. If you take a child without the parent's consent or the guardian's consent, then 100% they would be able to have a civil action against you under this legislation.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does it take into consideration if the parent or guardian is incapacitated?
Representative Ritchie.
It would end up coming down to the parent or guardian's consent. If the parent is incapacitated, I believe in that situation, or be somebody else that would be filling in that role as the guardian at that point. So the guardian is exempted from this as well.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for the record, you're talking about this is interesting. The question I was going to ask was a custodial parent, but what if it's a husband and wife and one agree and one does not agree? That just kind of hit me. Um, hmm. Okay, so if either one agree in that situation, you'll be fine.
Representative Ritchie.
My understanding is if you have parent or guardian's consent based on the language it's written, then that right there would end up exempting or excluding somebody who harbors, transports, or recruits a minor for a prohibited procedure within the state.
Leader
And
Camper.
lastly, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I'm trying to understand, is it the custodial parent? Like, if they don't have joint custody and you have one parent with custody, but the non-custodial parent agrees, then you would be fine. Or does it have to be the custodial parent?
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman. And if we could, Chairman, go out to
That would be
legal to
good,
get that
yes.
definition, that might be the best way to answer this right here.
Thank you.
All right, without objection, we're going to go out of session to hear from legal. Mr. Joel Hayes, without objection, we're out of session.
Joel Hayes, Office of Legal Services. Leader Camper, it does not specify which parent, so it just says a parent, correct, or a legal guardian.
Okay, any other questions for legal while we're out of session? Hearing none, seeing none, without objection, we're back in. So ordered. Leader Camper.
I think that answered my question, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this piece of legislation. I've got a question kind of in the lines of my friend from Shelby County with consent. Your bill centers around whether or not they have consent. Is that correct from a parent or legal guardian? Then I've got a
Representative Ritchie.
follow-up.
That is correct.
So if a parent or legal guardian is incapacitated or unable to give that consent and you take the child anyway, that's still a crime. It doesn't matter whether or not they have the capacity to give the consent. The fact is they don't have it. So you take that minor and you don't have consent, regardless of the capacity of the person giving the consent, you don't have consent. Would that be appropriate under your bill or appropriate analysis of that question regarding consent?
Representative Ritchie.
That is correct. Yeah, the crux of this right here is consent from the parent or guardian.
And if the parent can't give it, you don't have consent.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very, very brief. I appreciate your effort, but I really think you got a bucket with too many holes in it. I'm not very smart, and I done already figured out a way to get around this if I wanted to. We can pass the legislation, but I don't think this is going to be very effective even after it's passed if somebody really mean to break the law. And, and we do try to legislate morality sometimes, but it just don't work. But I just want to put that on record.
Representative Ritchie, any comments?
No.
All right. Further discussion. Again, we're on House Bill 2310. Hearing none and seeing none. We're now voting on House Bill 2310, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2310 moves on to full finance. That brings us to item number 2. Item number 2 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1872 by Representative Fritz. You have a motion and a second. And you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Thank you for your time. I bring before you House Bill 1872, which basically does 4 things. Criminal illegal aliens who commit a violent crime, criminal illegal aliens who commit a crime in possession of a deadly weapon, or any adult in the state of Tennessee who goes on a K through 12 campus while the children are there and commits a violent felony crime. And then fourthly, gives the judge or magistrate, this bill, the authority to consider residency status when granting bond. And I offer those 4 brief things that this bill does. It does have a fiscal note that is, as you all know, other fiscal impact with unable to project, but potential in 30 FY30 and 31. I feel the necessity to bring the bill, a couple of reasons. One, our schools should be safe places where that we put prohibitions, we put deterrents in place so that there's a strong consequence for any of those crimes listed in code as a violent felony crime should not be committed on our school grounds, period. And I think this bill helps us to say so very affirmatively and reaffirms many of the good things we've done over the past couple of years. Secondly, with the crisis that we have both at our southern and northern border in the United States with human beings who are coming here, humans just like you and I, but some of those human beings come with criminal and malicious intent. And that has been demonstrated. You only need to look at the national media to see some of the ugly and abhorrent things that have taken place. I believe that consequences help determine behavior. And I think developing these consequences, these very stiff consequences in the state of Tennessee sends a signal to those who have malicious and felonious intent that they should not commit it in the great state of Tennessee. And with that, I would answer any questions, sir.
All right. Thank you, Representative Fritz. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You listed several things, but I didn't hear what you say would happen if those things occurred. You said I'm going to list these things, but I didn't hear. I was expecting you to tell us what was going to happen with respect to that. So could you for the record, tell us what that is? Thank you.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that question. I was trying to speak too fast for a person from Rockwood, Representative. And the consequence for the commission of those crimes is a sentence enhancement of up to life in prison without parole.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it wasn't a combination of these. It was any one of these, or was it a combination of these different activities? Or if they did this one thing, it could be. If it's the second thing, it could be. If it could, for the record.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any one of those. Thank you again for the question, Representative. Any one of those three items that I covered.
Leader Camper.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1872, moving on to full finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1872 moves on to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman of the Committee.
All right, members, that does complete our calendar for today. At this time, I'm going to recognize Chairlady Hazelwood for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance Full will meet in this room in 5 minutes. That would be 10:45.
All
10:50,
righty.
I'm sorry.
Do we have any further business coming before the committee? Hearing none and seeing none, without objection, we stand adjourned. So ordered. Members, let me go back. I just misspoke. I actually adjourned. We're going to stand in recess. So without objection, we're going to stand in recess.